how are you applying the Quran in your life overall? Not just when you're sitting and reading it and you heed the message at the moment and then you close it. But the Quran is there for you in all of your life, not just for the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes you're sitting down with it, but the Quran is there for you to see the messages in every single aspect of your life. And this is something that with more tadabbur, with more practice, we can start seeing in our own lives. And today I was reviewing the first few verses of Surah Aljumuah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that He is Al-Quddus, the most sacred, the most holy, the most pure. And immediately after, He will tell us that He sent us Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam to be a means of guidance, tazkiyah, to tell us how to apply the Quran in our life. How do we approach Al-Quddus? How do we approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't just leave us in the dark and tell us, figure out how to come to me, how to access the most pure. But rather He sent us the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the guiding light, to show us, to be an example for us of how to build a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who gave us these words, the Quran, that would speak to us in our own lives at different times when we need it. And subhanAllah, it's as if I saw the application of these verses in my own eyes as I stepped outside today and there was a flood in my area. So I go to my backyard and there's a lot of water just sitting there, just sitting idle, not able to find a place to go into. And then suddenly I realized that the drain that usually collects the water, it was clogged because a bunch of leaves were covering it. So as soon as I cleaned up the drain and I removed the leaves, the water that was just sitting there starts flowing through naturally. And it was this beautiful scene of seeing sitting water, not knowing where to go, all of a sudden know where to go. And this is how we can apply the message of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave us access to his sunnah, to his life, to help us apply the Quran in real life. The sunnah is the best tafsir of the Quran. The sunnah is the best way to access the meaning of the Quran, the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. So he showed us the pathway, rather than us not knowing what to do with the Quran, how to build a relationship with the Quran, how to build a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is there for us to show us that path in his interactions with the people around him, in his dealing with his family, in his dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in every single aspect of his life. It is a flow for us, rather than us not knowing what to do and how to do it. He is there for us. So subhanAllah, when I was watching the water slowly go down, it was as if I was seeing the first 2 verses of Surah Aljumuah in my life. And why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, immediately after talking to us about his purity and his how holy and sacred Allah is to us, immediately he tells us who he sent for us to be a guiding light, who he sent for us to be a means of bringing the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. So when we're reading the Quran, we're not just reading a book that we can open and close, but we're actually reading about our own life, our interactions, everything around us. We can see it through the lens of the Quran and what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed us in his own life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be people of the Quran and people who follow the sunnah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.